And with that, the 2020 Reebok CrossFit Games are underway at the ranch in Aromas, California. The first time since 2016 that we have been back here, and the first time since 2009 that we have had an entire CrossFit Games in Northern California. Chase, keys to event one.
And when I'm looking at this event, when I say perfect your pace and unbroken or bust, these distances, these rep schemes, and these weights all dictate a certain pace. You can't pace too slow. You lose too much time with a field stacked with 5. If you go too fast, you could blow up. When you get off the row and you move to the last part of this, it's really, you got to go unbroken. You know Matt's looking to go unbroken. You know, a lot of these guys have the potential to. So again, with only 5, there is no room for error. You got to protect that pace on the row and then make sure you stay unbroken and efficient on the later parts.
Sam Quant was not on anybody's list when it came to the people that they thought would be inside the top 5 after stage 1. But then when you look at what he's been able to accomplish and the type of athlete he is, then it's not as big as a surprise.
It's not. He's a fantastic athlete. He's got the size, he has the athleticism, and he has the talent. This is one of those young, heralded athletes that came on the scene a few years ago, had a couple missteps over the last couple years due to injuries, got cut in 2019. But Samuel Quant, the thing I like about him is that he knows where he is relative to the field, but he has a huge chip on his shoulder. And with the way the programming is stacking up so far that we've seen, the thing I like most about these events, that if you really want to attack and bring it to Matt, these set up nicely for the athletes like Samuel Quant.
Jeffrey Adler is the lone Canadian in the field here, and he was impressive in the Worldwide Open. That's how he qualified, and then, of course, followed that up with a great performance in stage 1. But we talked to him the other day, and you kind of wonder about his competitive, I guess, spirit right now. Spirit
and mindset is one, is that a lot of athletes, and Adler specifically, when you see them make the CrossFit Games, most of the time they're surprised or they're just happy to be there. For Adler is that he has a very well-rounded skill set. You see that in qualifiers all the time. What he has not shown is having that on-site, in-person competitive drive and fire that we've seen him have in his own gym.
Athletes working through that 1,500-meter row to start this off, and then it's 5 rounds of the shoulder to overhead and the bar muscle-ups. Noah Olson, the man who finished second to Matt Fraser last year at the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games, even wore that white leader's jersey for a significant amount of time.
He did, and it was 35 points going into the final event. It's the closest anyone's been to Matt when Matt's on his winning streak. And the thing for Noah is that I think he's a guy that feeds off crowds, atmosphere, competitive landscape. I'm very curious to see how he handles this new format without all those pieces pushing him to be the best he can.
Matt Fraser on the right, Noah Olson on the left, and the two of them looking to wrap up their 1,500-meter rows here, the first part of the opening event.
Evening out pacing and timing on a row. What this is based off of is it's based off the 1,000-meter row of the old 2007, the very first CrossFit event ever programmed, and it came out of a hopper. And usually when you have 1,000, it's a nice steady pace. You're sitting at about 140 to 145. You're getting off about 320, 330. This 1,500, it's one of those weird distances we don't normally do, but you still need, again, perfect your pace, because if you come out a little too hot, we're talking about a 5-second difference on a 500-meter row, you could blow up towards the end, because that 235 waiting for these guys is not the lightest weight in the world when you're talking about the total amount of volume when they get there. But something about 145 is good. But with above that, if you lose 15 to 20 seconds on a row, the way this is designed with only 10, I say only 10 bar muscle-ups, for these athletes, we got to make sure we analyze with the quality of athlete that we have. Only 10 bar muscle-ups, only 7 push-jerks. As I said, it's like they can handle this unbroken. So if you're 15 seconds behind coming into that, you're already behind the 8 ball. So there's a very fine line you have to ride for this 1,500-meter row in terms of pacing.
Noah Olson is through 13 of the 15 reps of this initial 1,500-meter row. The judge's hand will be raised when their respective athletes have 100 meters to go, and now Noah Olson is inside that 100-meter mark. Jeffrey Adler is there as well. The scoring hat at the top of your screen, the leader in the event will have his name highlighted in blue. And then the white box next to that person's name will indicate the number of repetitions that he has completed. 15 reps to start here on that 1,500-meter row. There are 101 total repetitions in this event, with the finish line counting as a single rep. So Noah Olson is done, and he will get to work on his first round of 10 bar muscle-ups. Matt Fraser is also there as well. So Fraser keeping pace with Noah Olson here early on. Olson the early leader, though.
Big thing I'm keeping my eye on is the tempo between the movements. Noah had a quick transition from rower to bar. Now what it's going to be from barbell or from pull-up bar to barbell. Because all 5 of these athletes have the ability to go unbroken. We just said that. Now it's the things between the reps. Getting to your bar, how fast do you start? Well, Matt Fraser's already to his bar next to Noah Olson, and there's that little transition difference between Matt and Noah. He's already 2, maybe 3 reps in before Noah. He had his hand on the bar for about 10 seconds before he picked it up.
Fraser ripping through those 7 shoulder to overhead at 32. He'll be done with his first round, and he is done. And Matt Fraser now in front through 32 of the 101 scored repetitions. Noah Olson is in second. Sam Quant just put the bar down as well. Fraser going back to the bar for the bar muscle-up. Second round of 10. One more look at the description here in 2007 Reloaded, presented by Ramwad. 1,500-meter row, that's done and dusted. We are in the second part of this, the 5 rounds of the 10 bar muscle-ups and the 7 shoulder to overhead. 235 for the men and then 145 for the women. They're coming up next.
Fraser, the center part of your screen, looks so smooth and relaxed. You can actually hear his breathing is nice and relaxed. He's almost trying to catch his breath on a bar muscle-up. That sounds absurd to the casual CrossFitter, but that is something these athletes can do. And what I like to see there is Matt's already looking left to right. Here's the beauty about this event this year is that you are competing against the 5 people you're competing against in this heat. So what's nice for Matt or anyone that gets in the lead is that as long as they just barely stay ahead, they're good to go. They don't have to worry about previous heats before them.
Fraser is done with his second of 5 rounds. Jeffrey Adler is 3 reps behind him. He's in second. Justin Madero starting to creep up, and Noah Olson, who was the first man off the rower, has now fallen back into 4th.
Adler already breaking, and I was thinking about this morning. We're talking about last night. It's like, are these athletes going to go unbroken? I think so, but 235 is that 10-pound difference. Makes a big difference in the end. It's kind of like doing thrusters in the open when you have to do 100 pounds instead of 95. I don't know why 5 pounds feels like 50 when I get about 15 reps in, but it does make a difference if you're not used to that classic 225 weight.
Matt Fraser is more than halfway done now with the scored reps through 55 of the 101 he needs to complete. Again, crossing the finish line does count as a rep, and now Noah Olson on the left side of your screen is trying to catch up with Justin Medeiros, who has moved himself into second place.
Just watch the tempo that Fraser has between the movements. Medeiros looks very good. It's catching nice and high. What's good there is that when you couple a bar muscle up with a jerk, as opposed to the pull-ups that we had in the previous version of this, is that press out at the top is taking away from the hardest part of the jerk, which is that receiving position. So if you catch high, you save yourself some energy. But if you have that full dip out of the bottom, that's going to mess over your overhead position.
Fraser is on his 3rd round of shoulder to overhead. He has yet to break any of these up. 7 reps to complete. And then he'll be on to round number 4. Fraser will advance his barbell and head back to the pull-up bar. And he is in the lead all by himself right now. Noah Olson and Justin Medeiros on either side of your screen. Olson's on the left, Medeiros is on the right. They are fighting for second place in this event.
So the difference maker, other than the barbell work in the pull-up rig, is the time in between. Noah Olson is taking huge chunks of rest in between the jerks and the bar muscle-ups, where Medeiros is not doing it much. I'm going to talk about Matt Fraser's in the center part of your screen. His tempo between that is just get the work done, walk to my bar, and start, vice versa. That is what really the difference is for Matt right now.
Fraser on round 4 now of his bar muscle-ups. Meanwhile, Justin Medeiros is trying to hold off Sam Quant, Jeffrey Adler, and Noah Olson for second place.
And then Matt takes a break. But again, is it a had to break or I'm choosing to break? Because he's so far ahead of everybody else in the field, he can afford to take a little bit of rest to ensure that he's not going to peter out towards the end.
Justin Medeiros, the only rookie in the field here. This is his very first CrossFit Games appearance. Matt Fraser and Noah Olson have 14 between the two of them. Fraser now through 76 of the 101 total repetitions, closing in on an event win here.
So that last set of jerks for Matt was definitely the hardest set. We're now 28 reps total for the jerk itself. And that's, again, that is a lot of repetitions at this weight.
Fourth round of 7 for Fraser.
When you get towards the end here, with the bar muscle-ups taking away your overhead stability, you got to put as much of your legs into this as possible. Yes, it's an overhead movement, but as you move from movement, say strict press to push jerk, the legs and hips are the dominating driver for that particular movement. So you got to make sure you're dialed in technique-wise, or else you're not going to be able to get through these reps.
Unbroken for Matt Fraser again, and he'll make the trip back to the pull-up bar. 5th and final round of 10 bar muscle-ups. Justin Medeiros, top of your screen, just got back to the barbell for the 4th time. Sam Quant, Jeffrey Adler, and Noah Olson are now all battling for 3rd, as Medeiros is starting to put some significant distance between himself and his fellow competitors.
I really like the tempo that Medeiros is coming out with, being a rookie at the CrossFit Games and already trying to take it to the field, other than Matt Fraser.
Fraser, though, all by himself in the lead. Nothing new there. He is through 89 of the 101 scored repetitions. He's got 4 to go to close out this 5th and final set. And now Medeiros is back up onto the pull-up bar and looking to cut into Fraser's lead, but Fraser right back to work as well. He's not going to let the rookie get any closer.
And as I said before, is like, these breaks are not breaks because they have to, it's because he chooses to. He doesn't need to go unbroken anymore. He set the pace for the first 3 rounds and then able to pace for the last 2.
Fraser making the trip back to the barbell for the final time through 93 of the 101 scored repetitions, and looking for yet another event win in his CrossFit Games career. Fraser's gone unbroken through all 4 sets. Trying to do it again here in round 5. Medeiros is going to get the wow. A rare no rep for Matt Fraser.
Wow.
So he'll have to resituate his barbell, and now Medeiros is going to get to work, but Fraser has plenty of time.
Yeah, but that was not that Matt's going to lose this at the end, but that was a failure rep. That wasn't a misstep rep. That was a complete muscle fatigue miss.
And Fraser's done, and Matt Fraser will win event 1 and start off with 100 points as he looks to win his 5th straight CrossFit Games, and Justin Medeiros will take 2nd. That will be worth 75 points.
That 8-second difference was that one break Medeiros took on his final round of bar muscle-ups. Had he not taken that, who knows what would have happened towards the end there with that missed final rep on Matt Fraser.
Sam Quant is ahead of Jeff Adler for 3rd, so Quant's going to lock up 3rd place, 55 points for him, and that leaves Adler and Olson still left on the competition floor. Now Olson is way in the back, still on his bar muscle-ups. Adler is on his final round of shoulder to overhead, so once again, Noah Olson, and we've seen him do this in the past, comes out hot, leads, and then all of a sudden fades. You got to wonder if he had the right strategy for this event.
And that's when we're talking about perfect your pace, because the row can screw up the rest of your event. If you pace that out too hard, you get too excited. I mean, it's day 1, event 1 of the CrossFit Games. We didn't know if this is ever going to happen, and it's finally here. There's a lot of excitement around this, especially for the athletes. So I'm curious to see if he did come out too hard on the row, or even too hard on that first round of bar muscle-ups and push jerks.
Noah Olson with 7 shoulder to overhead remaining here at 235 pounds. Then he's got to cross the finish line. There's an 18-minute time cap. So this is where the scoring rule comes into play. Olson right now has 15 points for finishing 5th, but if it's determined that he's not giving his full effort, he could wind up with 0.
And that is one of the rules that HQ and the games have put out is that you can't just take your L and pack it in. You have to show that you are attempting to fight and finish each and every event. Now, Noah Olson is clearly not short of effort at this moment, so he's not having to worry about a 0. But at the same time, it's like those add up. So. And it's hard. And the thing here for Noah is like, look, you're going to get last no matter what. Make sure you don't do something that could potentially mess up the rest of your weekend. It's just the first event of many to come. And we're just talking about today. This is a 5-event day. It's going to be a long day of competition.
4 reps to go for Noah Olson.
Go, buddy. Here you go, Noah.
And you mentioned earlier that Noah is a guy who feeds off the crowd. And this is a point in the event where the crowd would be going nuts for Olson to get across the finish line, and now it's just him all by himself.
There you go.
100%. And then again, Noah rides that surge, and he rides that wave of competition a lot like Sarah Sigmundsdottir does sometimes.
Take your time, man. Go.
Matt Fraser, meanwhile, is icing his forearms after picking up another event win. He'll start out with 100 points and will be your overall leader after the first event. So 3 to go for Noah Olson. 18-minute time cap.
Come on, Noah. Let's go. Boy. Yeah. One more. Come on. Yes, sir. Make it count. Let's get it. Nice.
And Olson is done, and he is in, and you could hear his fellow competitors cheering him on here. So Olson starts off with a 5th place in event number 1. That'll be 15 points. Justin Madero's impressive early on.